discuss is about reference letters, or you call it recommendation letters, or they call it expert letters. So this is an important aspect of your petition that you are going to be submitting to USCIS. A reference letter can actually, take your case or your petition, increase the quality, and take it to the next level. And in some cases, I have seen reference letter taking your cases and not really doing its job. It can mar your case if you do not do what you are supposed to do. So the first thing I want us to understand is that the reference letters for EB2 and for EB1A, or whether EB2NIW generally, is that it is different from job application reference letter. It is different from PhD admission reference letters. It is different from all those kind of applications reference letters. This kind of reference letter has its own structure. It has its own guidelines. It has its own do's and don'ts. So the first thing I want us to understand is that generally they say that, okay, we have two types of reference letters: independent and dependent reference letters. The key thing is the independent letters are the strong ones. What do we mean by independent letters? Independent letters are those letters that are written by people outside your circle. Those are letters that are written by people that know you because of your work, because of your accomplishments and your contributions to your field or industry. They do not know you because they have worked with you maybe in the same organization, the same offices, or they are your advisor or your professor, or your acquaintances within your inner circle. So these kind of letters that you get from people in your inner circle, they call it dependent reference letters. They are people within your circle. They do not carry weight. So what do I mean by they do not carry weight is that because you are submitting this letter yourself, you have asked them, it is very obvious that these people will not write something bad about you. So we cannot say it is objective enough because these are people within your circle. So they will definitely write something good about you. So you want to make sure that when you are getting reference letters, you are getting it from experts outside your inner circle. It could be people that have known you. Maybe you made a contribution at work for your clients. You wrote a business plan for them. Someone cited your article. You reach out to these people that have cited your article or your work to write letters for you. People that have benefited from your work. Maybe people in government that have benefited from your work. Professors in your field that are renowned or acclaimed. Generally, you want to make sure that the reference letters is coming from people within your field. And another important element of the reference letter is that you want to make sure that these letters are, they are objective enough, which means that any claim in the reference letters, you should actually have evidence for it. The onus of evidence is not on whoever is writing it. It is on you. So let's assume the person says that, okay, I know Hafiz, he has been a judge, he has contributed to this so project. The proofs, the evidences of those projects they are mentioning that I have contributed to, you understand? I need to actually have those evidences within my petition. So the point is, a reference letter itself is not an evidence. You understand what I'm trying to say? It is a supporting evidence that comes to improve your case. So you cannot rely on reference letter as what you are going to use as an objective evidence. Okay, the person said that you won an award. You got an award of merit. You belong to a particular membership and things like that. The evidence of those membership, of those awards, needs to actually, you need to actually have them. It is not, the onus is on whoever is writing it. So these are some of the important things we need to take note when we get our reference letters. Another thing that we want to make sure that is in our reference letter is that when you get reference letters, you want to make sure that they are not saying the same thing about you. What I mean is, reference letter A is not saying about my judging role and award, then reference letter B is saying the same thing, then reference letter C is saying the same thing, then reference letter D is saying the same thing. You want to try as much as possible to let them talk about different parts, different things about you. So the strategy I usually advise is that you have, let's assume you have 10 accomplishments or 12 accomplishments. Divide these accomplishments amongst your referees, your experts that are writing for you. So let Professor A talk about your first 3 or 4 accomplishments. Then Professor B talks about the next 4 accomplishments. Professor C talks about the next 4 accomplishments. Professor D talks about the next 4 accomplishments. You understand what I'm trying to say? So in that way, the moment they are writing the same thing, there's not going to be similarity in it. And another thing you want to take note of is that sometimes a lot of people are unable to, I'm talking of the expert now, they don't have the time, or maybe they don't understand what you're trying to do. They've not written one in the past, so they are unable to write a very quality one for you. Sometimes you are going to provide drafts for them. Sometimes you are going to give them bullet points of what you want them to say so that they can turn it into an actual letter. Sometimes you are going to provide your detailed resume and highlight specific parts you want them to talk about. The point is, you are going to provide the experts, the recommenders, enough information as possible. Sometimes you are going to write it for them. So let's assume you are writing it, or you contracted an attorney who is going to help you write it or draft it and things like that. You want to make sure there's no similarity in terms of sentence types and structure, writing style. Grammatical mistakes should not be the same. Usually you don't want a grammatical mistake, but let's assume there's a grammatical mistake. You don't want to the same grammatical mistake the same time it is being made in reference letter A and it's being made in reference letter B. Then it's begin to give an idea that all these letters that you have are being written by one person. So the moment your submissions have that kind of an indicator, it gives the idea of the adjudicator. The adjudicator is going to think that, the same person have written this, and it makes it lack credibility. The moment your reference letter lacks credibility, the whole of your petition lacks credibility. They will say that, okay, if this person can falsify reference letter, or if the reference letter lacks credibility, then it means that all the evidences this person has submitted to may also lack credibility. So there are a lot of cases on AAO non-precedent cases where they've talked about some similarities in reference letters. So you want to make sure that your reference letters are not the same. So you use the same, different writing style, use different writing structure, use different font tests and things like that. There's no particular standard of the length of the reference letter, but usually a good one will be more than a page. Will be more than the page, but it can be like 1.5 pages, 2 pages, 3 pages. Not too lengthy, but get a reference letter. Again, there's no standard that, okay, you have to submit 8 reference letters, or you have to submit 4 reference letters, or you have to submit 5 reference letters. The number of letters you are going to be submitting is dependent on what your case itself, the totality of your case. So for example, if I'm arguing critical role and high salary, most likely I'm going to get 1 or 2 reference letters from my organization. This is needed. So this is an expert letter from your organization. It's dependent, but you still need it. So somebody that doesn't have critical role in the organization or high salary, then that kind of a person may not need an expert letter from the organization. You understand? Okay. Somebody that has original contribution of major significance. If you have original contribution of major significance, you have done a work that a lot of people are using. In that case too, I want to get at least 1 or 2 reference letters from people that have benefited from my work. I want them to write something and attest to if I've been a judge and review papers, I can reach out to editors of these publications to write a reference letter for me to talk about my work, because these people, they don't know me directly. They only knew me because I was a judge in the particular journal, in a particular conference and things like that. So you can begin to imagine. So these are some ideas. The point is, it is about your case. So that is going to determine whether you need a reference letter or not. So if you are a member of a particular prestigious organization, You can get a reference letter from some of the people that actually in the selection panel for you to become get that member. If you are not a member, then you don't need that kind of a letter. The point is, the number of letters you need is dependent on the totality of your case. So having 4 reference letters or 8 reference letters does not automatically mean you have a quality reference letter. So these are some of the important points we need to take notes when we get our reference letters. Another important point about reference letter is that you don't want those reference letters to talk about he is a first class student, he is an A student. All these things do not talk about how you have risen to the top of your field, how you are an expert in the field. You don't want it to have empty compliments and hyping or some jargons. You want it to have corroborative evidence that talk about your contribution, the impact of your contribution, the significance of that contribution, how that contribution that you have done, how it has benefited them or someone they know, or benefited the United States or the country or the whole world at large, or a member of a group of people within the society. It wants to talk about it, and the person wants to expatiate on this. What is the benefits of someone like you coming to the United States, and those kind of things. Those are the kind of things you want to include in your reference letter. You don't want to put empty jargons and compliments. The person is a first class. The fact that you're a first class or your academic accomplishments do not necessarily make you an expert in your field. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are rising to the top of your field or you have extraordinary ability according to the criteria of the USCIS. These are some of the things that we want to take note of how you want to get your reference letter written. So basically, for the reference letter, it is very good if the person can write it on a letterhead of the organization they work for. If they cannot write it because of some conflict of interest, or they don't want it to appear as if they are speaking on behalf of that organization, it is fine. You understand? If they have a personal letterhead for themselves, they can do something like that. A lot of people are able to use the letterhead of their organization. Some people are unable to. So whether they do or they don't do, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It should have their signature at the end and their contact details. Their details, their contact and address. So those are some basic things. Then the very first paragraph usually is going to talk about that person, and the person is going to introduce himself or herself on how they are an expert. The person wants to establish that they have everything it takes to be able to make a reference letter for you. Remember, you are claiming to be an expert, one of the very few who has risen to the top of your field, which means that you are also getting letter from somebody that is an expert. That is only how that letter is going to make sense. That is how that letter is going to be quality. So in that case, the person needs to establish that, okay, I'm an expert. How do they establish they're an expert? They talk about their accomplishments, the number of years of experience they have, number of papers they've published, the amounts in dollars of the grant they've had, number of PhD students they've graduated, their contribution to the field of the industry or the academics, and those kind of things. They talk about it succinctly in about a paragraph. This can be up to 8-7 lines. Usually they are going to also make a reference to their resume or CV, that okay, find attach my resume. So when you get reference letters, you want to get this CV of whomever is writing it for you. Usually this CV, you can get it on the internet for a lot of people. If you don't have it on the internet, you can use their LinkedIn. If they have a detailed LinkedIn section, you can actually download. There's a way to download the CV from the LinkedIn. So these are some of the things. So after the person has talked about how they are an expert, the next thing they want to quickly talk about is how they know you. How did they know you? They want to connect to the applicant. So were they a selection panel? Were they the editor of a particular paper that you reviewed? Were they an audience in a particular place you made the presentation? Did they make use of your work somewhere? the person wants to establish a relationship. Are they your boss? Or maybe they are the CTO of the organization, the CEO of the organization. They want to make the claim. They want to establish how they know you. This is very important. They need to talk about the relationship to you. And the moment they talk about the relationship and how they are familiar with your work, they want to now start to talk about your work and your contribution. So they should give a detailed overview of the contributions. So when they give detailed overviews of your contribution and accomplishments in the field, I usually like it that they align it with the EB1A criteria. So let's assume you are targeting 6 criteria. They can just pick 1 or 2 criteria, maybe judging role and membership in prestigious organization, and they talk about the judging roles you've done. And again, they can do that in 1 paragraph. What is the significance of that judging role? What are the responsibilities? And what is the impact? And how does it make you top of your field and one of the very few that has risen to the top of the field, or with a national and international acclaim? Then the next paragraph again is still about your contribution. In that case, they are going to talk about maybe your criticality of your role in an organization, or the original contribution, or your papers, or all those USS 10, one of the 10 criteria, they talk about it. The moment they've done that, then now we are going to be about the 4th or 5th paragraph already. You can see now we are almost in the 2nd page of the documents. Now they can talk about the larger and broader impact of your work. What is the industry impact? What is the benefit to the United States? How are you a top of your field? And those kind of things, they can begin to talk about it. The industry impact, benefits, the potential it has, and those other things. So by the time they do all these things and each of your referees talk about them, then you are beginning to have a quality reference letter. Again, it depends on whoever you're writing it. Some people don't mind you to provide a draft for them. Some people, they only want bullet points, then they can expand on it. Some people, they already know you. They've written reference letters in the past for EB1A application. They know how to write a very good one. They don't need any draft. So it all depends on whoever is writing it, and that is going to determine the strategy you are going to use to get your reference letter. So the one important thing that I've said, which I'm saying again, is do not repeat words like significant, extraordinary, exceptional, rather than them to be saying that, oh, Hafiz Jimoh he has a significant contribution, he is exceptional, he is extraordinary. It's not that these words are bad on their own, but rather than them saying it, they should rather explain how you are extraordinary, how your work is significant, how you are exceptional. You understand? Don't just say, show. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So another thing is the letter should be persuasive as possible. It should be testimonial in nature. You understand? And the letters should not form the cornerstone of the petition. They should still be quality. Your petition should still be able to stand without the reference letter, which means that if I remove all the reference letters and I look at your petition, the adjudicating officer must still be able to do what? Make a decision on your case without the reference letter and say that, oh, this person meets this criteria, this person meets this criteria, this person meets this criteria. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Again, like I've said, it should not be, you want to make sure that you are getting more letters within folks outside your professional cycle. So outside, not your inner circle. You want to make sure you are getting letters from these people. And don't let them repeat the same thing over and over again. Praises, technical jargons, those are the things you want to avoid in the reference letter. So by the time you have all these things and you structure your letter in the particular way I've suggested, get their curriculum vitae, their CV. When you get all these things, you now have a quality reference letter. And that is that on reference letter. We go to the next section where we discuss about some other things about your EB1A petition. Thank you.